Well, for further insight, I'd like to welcome in Norman Roule, former senior U.S. intelligence official. Norman, it's great to speak with you again. First of all, I'd like to start with what Robert just ended on there. What is the significance of a Hamas response to these U.S. protests?
Good afternoon. It's extraordinary. It's not just the Hamas response. We've seen the supreme leader of Iran, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, note the accuracy that a Hezbollah flag was seen at one of the demonstrations. And again, Hezbollah has killed hundreds of Americans. So in essence, you have Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran all responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans, kidnapping of Americans, praising what they see as support within the United States for those groups. It's an extraordinary development, and it will actually embolden these actors to continue their aggression against the United States and other people in the region and make them less likely to accept diplomacy and political outcomes.
And Norman, what does the support by Hamas do to the credibility of these protesters? Because many of them say they are demonstrating because of the humanitarian crisis happening in Gaza. Yet now we see this Hamas support.
Well, to be clear, we have more than 20 or 30 Americans killed by Hamas. I've not seen that as a powerful narrative in any of the demonstrations. We have 6 hostages, and hostages from many countries. Again, doesn't come up in the demonstrations. There are 10 million Sudanese that have been displaced, 500,000 Syrian dead. It could not move any of these people to step out. But their demonstrations consistently talk about the eradication of Israel. They consistently to describe what is going on in Gaza as a genocide. It's a very one-sided argument. And frankly, many of the interviews of the demonstrators show that they don't really know what they're demonstrating about, but they're just against Israel. This is an extraordinary development, and as I say, it must make people in Tehran, Beirut, and Gaza, the terrorists, very pleased.
Well, what do you think about how school officials have been handling the protests so far, especially as we are seeing them spread?
Well, our Constitution enshrines the right for peaceful protest, and we should protect that and endorse that because that's who we are as a people. However, once people break the law, whatever the laws and conditions are at that location, we shouldn't allow them to get away with this, because if they get away with it, why can't someone else who protests something else do the same thing? And you have sort of an unraveling of the protections that go with students who live at these colleges, who have a right to study, Jewish students who want to feel safe. Their state of mind, their well-being is also critical to protect.
And Norman, the president has released statements, I'm thinking over the weekend, addressing these protesters. But do you think the White House will be forced to address this issue in a more meaningful way?
My sense is that the administration has tried to come down on both sides of the issue. The president, I believe, has stated that he condemns violent protests, and he also has talked about the need to understand what Palestinians are going through. In the end, I think he's going to put the responsibility for the actions that are taken against the protesters to the cities and the states where these are taking place, in part because he wishes to avoid the political blowback.
Norman Roule, we certainly appreciate your input. Thank you as always.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.